of forgiveness. Robert Browning. I am indeed the personage you know. As for my wife, what happened long ago you have a right to question me, as I am bound to answer. Son, a fit reply. The monk half spoke, half ground through his clenched teeth. At the confession grate I knelt beneath. Thus then all happened, Father. Power and place I had as still I have. I ran life's race, with the whole world to see, as only strains his strength some athlete whose prodigious gains of good appall him, happy to excess, work freely done should balance happiness fully enjoyed. And, since beneath my roof housed she who made home heaven, in heaven's booth I went forth every day, and all day long worked for the world. Look, how the laborer's song cheers him. Thus sang my soul, at each sharp throe of laboring flesh and blood, she loves me so. One day, perhaps such songs sown at the nerve that work grew play and vanished. I deserve haply my heaven an hour before the time. I laughed, as silverly the clock-house chimes surprised me passing through the postern gate, not the main entry where the menials wait and wonder why the world's affairs allow the master sudden leisure. That was how I took the private garden way for once. Forth from the alcove, I saw start, and squat himself behind the porphyry vase, a man. My fancies in the natural order ran, a spy, perhaps a foe in ambuscade, a thief, more like, a sweetheart of some maid who pitched on the alcove for tryst perhaps. Stand there, I bid. Whereat my man but wraps his face the close ear with uplifted arm whereon the cloak lies, strikes in blind alarm this and that pedestal as, stretch and stoop, now in, now out of sight, he threads the group of statues, marble god and goddess ranged each side the pathway, till the gate's exchanged for safety, one step thence, the street, you know. Thus far I followed with my gaze. Then, slow, near on admiringly, I breathed again, and back to that last fancy of the train a danger risks for hope of just a word with which of all my nest may be the bird this poacher covets for her plumage. Pray? Carmen? Juana? Carmen seems too gay for such adventure, while Juana's grave would scorn the folly. I applaud the knave. He had the eye, could single from my brood his proper fledgling. As I turned, there stood in face of me, my wife still stone white. Whether one bound had brought her, at first sight of what she judged the encounter, sure to be next moment, of the venturous man and me, brought her to clutch and keep me from my prey, whether impelled because her death no day could come so absolutely opportune as now at joyous height, like a year in June stayed at the fall of its first ripened rose, or whether hungry for my hate, who knows? Eager to end an irksome lie, and taste our tingling true relation, hate embraced by hate one naked moment, anyhow there still stone white stood my wife, but now the woman who made heaven within my house. She who faced me was my very spouse as well as love, you are to recollect. Stay, she said. Keep at least one soul unspecked with crime, that as spotless hitherto, your own. Kill me who court the blessing, who alone was, am, and shall be guilty, first to last. The man lay helpless in the toils I cast about him, helpless as the statue there against that strangling bellflower's bondage. Tear away and tread to dust the parasite, but do the passive marble no despite. I love him as I hate you. Kill me. Strike at one blow both infinitudes alike out of existence, hate and love. Whence love? That's safe inside my heart, nor will remove for any searching of your steel, I think. Whence hate? The secret lay on lip, at brink of speech, in one fierce tremble to escape, at every form wherein your love took shape, at each new provocation of your kiss. Kill me. We went in. Next day after this, I felt as if the speech might come. I spoke, easily, after all. The lifted cloak was screen sufficient, I concerned myself hardly with laying hands on her for pelf, whate'er the ignoble kind, may prowl and brave cuffing and kicking proper to an aid detected by my household's vigilance. Enough of such. As for my love romance, I, like our good Hidalgo, rub my eyes and wait and wonder how the film could rise which changed from me a barber's basin straight into Mambrino's helm. I hesitate no wise to say, God's sacramental cup. Why should I blame the brass which, burnished up, will blaze, to all but me, as good as gold? To me, a warning I was overbold in judging metals. The Hidalgo waked only to die, if I remember, staked his life upon the basin's worth, and lost, while I confessed torpidity at most in here and there a limb. But, layman halt, still should I work on, still repair my fault, or I took rest in death, no fear at all. Now, work no word before the curtain fall. The curtain. That of death on life, I meant, my word, permissible in death's event, would be, truth, soul to soul. For, otherwise, day by day, 3 years long, there had to rise and, night by night, to fall upon our stage, ours, doomed to public play by heritage, another curtain, when the world, perforce our critical assembly, in due course came and went, witnessing, gave praise or blame to our mimetic. It had spoiled the game if, suffered to set foot behind our scene. The world had witnessed how stage king and queen, gallant and lady, but a minute since in arming each the other, would evince no sign of recognition as they took his way and her way to whatever nook waited them in the darkness either side of that bright stage where lately groom and bride had fired the audience to a frenzy fit of sympathetic rapture, every whit earned as the curtain fell on her and me, actors. 3 whole years, nothing was to see but calm and concord. Where speech was due there came the speech. When the smiles were wanted too, smiles were as ready. In a place like mine, where foreign and domestic cares combine, there's audience every day and all day long. But finally the last of the whole throng who linger lets one see his back. For her, why, liberty and liking, I aver, liking and liberty. For me, I breathed, let my face rest from every wrinkle-wreathed smile like about the mouth, and learned my task of personation till next day bade mask, and quietly betook me from that world to the real world, not pageant, there unfurled in work, its wings, my soul, the fretted power. 3 years I worked, each minute of each hour not claimed by acting, work I may dispense with talk about, since work in evidence, perhaps in history. Who knows or cares? After 3 years, this way, all unawares, our acting ended. She and I, at close of a loud night feast, led, between 2 rows of bending male and female loyalty, our lord the king down staircase, while, held high at arm's length did the twisted taper's flare herald his passage from our palace, where such visiting left glory evermore. Again the ascent in public, till at door as we two stood by the saloon, now blank and disencumbered of its guests, there sank a whisper in my ear, so low and yet so unmistakable. I half forget the chamber you repair to, and I want occasion for one short word, if you grant that grace, within a certain room yon, called our study, for you wrote there while I scrawled some paper full of faces for my sport. That room I can remember. Just one short word with you there, for the remembrance sake. Follow me thither, I replied. We break the gloom a little, as with guiding lamp I'll lead the way, leave warmth and cheer, by damp blind disused serpentining ways afar from where the habitable chambers are, ascend, descend stairs tunneled through the stone, always in silence, till I reach the lone chamber sepulchered for my very own out of the palace quarry. When a boy, here was my fortress, stronghold from annoy, proof positive of ownership. In youth I garnered up my gleanings here uncouth but precious relics of vain hopes, vain fears. Finally, this became in after years my closet of entrenchment to withstand invasion of the foe on every hand, the multifarious herd and bower and hall, stateroom, Rooms whatsoe'er the style, which call on masters to be mindful that, before men, they must look like men and something more. Here, when our Lord the King's bestowment ceased to deck me on the day that, golden fleeced, I touched ambition's height, 'twas here, released from glory, always symboled by a chain. No sooner was I privileged to gain my secret domicile than glad I flung that last toy on the table, gazed where hung on hook my father's gift, the arquebus, and asked myself, shall I envisage thus the new prize and the old prize, when I reach another year's experience? Own that each equaled advantage, sportsman's, statesman's tool. That brought me down an ego, this, a fool. Into which room on entry, I set down the lamp, and turning saw whose rustled gown had told me my wife followed, pace for pace. Each of us looked the other in the face. She spoke. Since I could die now. To explain why that first struck me, no, not once again since the adventure at the Porphyria's edge 3 years before, which sundered like a wedge her soul from mine, though daily, smile to smile, we stood before the public, all the while not once bad I distinguished, in that face I paid observance to, the faintest trace of feature more than requisite for eyes to do their duty by and recognize, so did I force mine to obey my will and pry no further. There exists such skill, those know who need it. What physician shrinks from needful contact with a corpse? He drinks no plague so long as thirst for knowledge, not an idler impulse prompts inquiry. What, and will ye disbelieve in power to bid our spirit back to bounds, as though we chide a child from scrutiny that's just and right in manhood? Sense, not soul, accomplished sight, reported daily she it was not how nor why a change had come to cheek and brow. Since I could die now of the truth concealed, yet dare not, must not die, so seems revealed the Virgin's mind to me, for death means peace wherein no lawful part have I, whose lease of life and punishment the truth avowed may haply lengthen. Let me push the shroud away, that steals to muffle or is just my penance fire in snow. I dare I must live, by avowal of the truth, this truth, I loved you. Thanks for the fresh serpent's tooth that, by a prompt new pang more exquisite than all preceding torture, proves me right. I loved you yet I lost you. May I go burned to the ashes, now my shame you know? I think there never was such, how express? Horror coquetting with voluptuousness, as in those arms of Eastern workmanship, Yadahan, Kanjur, things that rend and rip, gash rough, slash smooth, help hate so many ways, yet ever keep a beauty that betrays love still at work with the artificer throughout his quaint devising. Why prefer, except for love's sake, that a blade should writhe and bicker like a flame? Now play the scythe as if some broad neck tempted, now contract a needle off into a fineness lacked for just that puncture which the heart demands? Then, such adornment. Wherefore need our hands enclose not ivory alone, nor gold roughened for use, but jewels? Nay, behold. Fancy my favorite, which I seem to grasp while I describe the luxury. No asp is diapered more delicate round throat than this below the handle. These denote these mazy lines meandering, to end only in flesh they open, what intend they else but water pearlings? Pale contrast with the life crimson where they blend at last? And mark the handle's dim pellucid green, carved, the hard jade stone, as you pinch a bean, into a sort of parrot bird. He pecks a grape bunch. His 2 eyes are ruby specks pure from the mine, seen this way, glassy blank, but turn them, lo, the inmost fire, that shrank from sparkling, sends a red dart right to aim. Why did I choose such toys? Perhaps the game of peaceful men is warlike, just as men war-wearied get amusement from that pen and paper we grow sick of, statesfolk tired of merely when such measures are required, dealing out doom to people by 3 words, a signature and seal, we play with swords suggestive of quick process. That is how I came to like the toys described you now, store of which glittered on the walls and strewed the table, even while my wife pursued her purpose to its ending. Now you know this shame, my 3 years' torture, let me go, burned to the very ashes. You, I lost, yet you, I loved. The thing I pity most in men is action prompted by surprise of anger, men? Nay, bulls, whose onset lies at instance of the firework and the goad. Once the foe prostrate, trampling once bestowed, prompt follows placability, regret, atonement. Trust me, blood warmth never yet betokenned strong will. As no leap of pulse pricked me, that first time, so did none convulse my veins at this occasion for resolve. Had that evolved which did not then devolve upon me, I had done, what now to do was quietly apparent. Tell me who the man was, crouching by the porphyry vase. No, never. All was folly in his case, all guilt in mine. I tempted, he complied. And yet you loved me? Loved you. Double-dyed in folly and in guilt, I thought you gave your heart and soul away from me to slave at statecraft. Since my right in you seemed lost, I stung myself to teach you, to your cost, what you rejected could be prized beyond life, heaven, by the first fool I threw a fond look on, a fatal word too. And you still love me? Do I conjecture well or ill? Conjecture, well or ill. I had 3 years to spend in learning you. We both are peers in knowledge, therefore, since 3 years are spent thus much of yourself I learn, who went back to the house, that day, and brought my mind to bear upon your action, uncombined motive from motive, till the dross, deprived of every purer particle, survived at last in native simple hideousness, utter contemptibility, nor less nor more. Contemptibility, exempt how could I, from its proper due, contempt. I have too much despised you to divert my life from its set course by help or hurt of your all despicable life, perturb the calm I work in, by many's mouths to curb, which at such news were clamorous enough many's eyes to shut before my broidered stuff with the huge hole there, my emblazoned wall blank where scutcheon hung, by, worse than all, each day's procession, my paraded life robbed and impoverished through the wanting wife now that my life, which means my work, was grown riches indeed. Once, just this worth alone seemed work to have, the profit gained thereby of good and praise would how rewardingly fall at your feet, a crown I hoped to cast before your love, my love should crown at last. No love remaining to cast crown before, my love stop work now. But contempt the more impelled me task as ever head in hand, because the very fiends weave ropes of sand rather than taste pure hell in idleness. Therefore I kept my memory down by stress of daily work. I had no mind to stay for the world's wonder at a wife away. Oh, it was easy all of it, believe, for I despised you. But your words retrieve importantly the past. No hate assumed the mask of love at any time. There gloomed a moment when love took hate's semblance, urged by causes you declare. But love's self purged away a fancied wrong I did both love's yours and my own, by no hate's help, it proves, purgation was attempted. Then, your eyes high by how many a grade. I did despise I do but hate you. Let hate's punishment replace contempt's. First step to which ascend write down your own words I re-utter you. I loved my husband and I hated who he was, I took up as my first chance, mere mud ball to fling and make love foul with. Here lies paper. Would my blood for ink suffice? It may, this minion from a land of spice. Silk, feather every bird of jeweled breast this poniard's beauty, and you're so lightly proud above your heart there. Thus it flows, I see. Dip there the point and write. Dictate to me. Nay, I remember. And she wrote the words. I read them. Then since love, in you, affords license for hate, in me, to quench. I say, contempt why, hate itself has passed away and vengeance foreign to contempt. Depart peacefully to that death which Eastern art imbued this weapon with, if tales be true. Love will succeed to hate. I pardon you dead in our chamber. True as truth the tale. She died ere morning. Then, I saw how pale her cheek was ere it wore day's paint disguise, and what a hollow darkened neath her eyes, now that I used my own. She sleeps, as erst beloved, in this your church, yours. Immersed in thought so deeply, Father? Sad, perhaps? For whose sake, hers or mine or his who wraps still plain I seem to see. About his head the idle cloak, about his heart instead of cuirass some fond hope he may elude my vengeance in the cloister's solitude. Hardly, I think. As little helped his brow the cloak then, Father, as your great helps now.